few audiences applauded. Number one, you're only the second audience to applaud Elias when he's like, "Fuck you, Randall." This was a big Elias town, man. Trevor went to the show last night. I wish he'd gone here tonight. He would have fucking heard all the love and shit. And then, what was the second one? You're only the sixth or seventh audience to applaud after Randall's eulogy when he says, "You're not even supposed to be here today." That happened at the first screening in New Jersey, the matinee, not even the first show we did. And I was like, holy fuck, man, that's gonna be amazing because they're gonna do that at every screening, and they didn't. The very next screening was at night, the same night in New Jersey, man, and I was backstage with somebody. I was like, watch this, they're about to applaud, and they didn't. Made me look like an asshole, and I was like, oh shit, all right, I can't take it for granted, so when it happens, it's very special. But you are the only audience that has applauded at the appearance of Dante at the very end when Dante shows back up. It was awesome. Yeah, y'all were into the movie. Fuck, man, that was really lovely. I appreciate that, man. Aside from like selling us out, you made me feel clever the whole time. I was on the phone with my mom and I kept holding it up to everyone like laughing and cheering. I was like, "You hear that, Mom? I'm so clever." She said, "Oh, Tiger, buy less loud jackets. And don't give away the pants." She was so mad that I gave away the pants. She was like, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, "Because I'll never wear them." She's like, "That suit cost you $200. I was like, $100, Mom. All right, so we got time for Q&A, and I see there's a microphone there, and there's a microphone there, and there's already people lined up. If you've never been to a Kevin Smith Q&A before, I would forewarn you, it's a little bit of Q and a metric fuck ton of A. So, we won't even get to as many people that are lined up, honestly. If you're, I would say, 5 deep and 5 deep, everyone else sit down and fucking enjoy yourselves. Otherwise, an hour and a half from now, you're gonna be like, why did I fucking stand the whole show? You didn't even get to me and stuff. So relax if you're at the end of the line and stuff. You might wanna grab your seat. We're gonna start over here. What's your name, Captain?
Derek, yo.
Derek? Everyone give it up for Derek. He's going first.
Hey, man. I love the movie. I love Smodcast. I love Fat Man Beyond.
Thank you.
I also love Tell 'em Steve Dave. I was a fan of Tell 'em Steve Dave over the years. You know, I have really thought a lot about you basing your characters, you know, and Bry as Randall. With this movie, and I did think of this question before I saw the movie, but after seeing the movie,
right.
Could we get a reading of this movie with Randall being played by, but now I see Randall should be played by Walt, and
I don't think you saw the right movie.
No, at this point, right, with Tell 'em Steve Dave, with Walt making all the movies and stuff, and all that, doing his film projects, like, now Walt is the filmmaker.
Maybe. Here, you want to know what the filmmaker thinks?
Please.
Novel idea. When I started making the movies, I was Dante, and Brian was Randall. I worked at the convenience store, Brian worked at the video store. Dante is a creature of responsibility, habit, put upon. Randall is the one that can say anything he wants to anybody. So when I wrote Clerks, I wrote the role of Randall to play myself. That's why Randall has all the best jokes. But the closer I got to production, I realized I can't fucking memorize dialogue. I'm not an actor. Like, who wrote this shit? So I couldn't achieve my lifelong dream of being Brian Johnson. So I went with what was left. Michael Bellicose had the role already of Silent Bob. I had written it for him. Michael Bellicose is the guy in Clerks and in Clerks III who says, "In a row?" That was supposed to be Silent Bob. So I was like, well, fuck, Silent Bob has no lines to memorize. I'm gonna steal this from Mike Bellicose. And I told him, like, I'm gonna take this role. Do you give a shit? He's like, not at all. And so I backed into Silent Bob. And so, you know, Jeff Anderson is the perfect Randall. Great fucking voice for it. Everything about him is pitch perfect. But there was always this bittersweet notion of like, oh man, like I fucking wanted to play Randall and stuff. Oh well. Happy with Silent Bob. Built a whole fucking cottage industry in Silent Bob. So no complaints. But there was an intent, and the intent like didn't happen when I was a kid. So when we get to Clerks III, it's a different story altogether. Clerks, one of the most authentic films ever made, and earnest at that, because it was made by a kid working in the convenience store who would turn off the camera only to step over to the register, ring somebody up and be like, thank you, come again. They'd leave and he would go back to work making the fucking flick. It was made by a kid who wished more than anything else that everyone would see him the way he saw himself as a director. That kid dreamed of this fucking night where 1,000 people would be in a room and be like, I guess you're directing, yes. You know, like, and so when he made the flick, it came from this very real, earnest fucking place. It was his real life with names changed, just like Randall says. Granted, nobody ever fucked a dead guy in the bathroom, but that's the movie part, right? By the time you get to Clerks II, that is complete artifice. Like, that never happened to me. I never worked in a fast food joint. There was never any fucking threat I was ever gonna move to Florida, ever. And I've never, sadly, been to a donkey show. So I know the whole fucking movie is Dante and Randall fan fiction. It's essentially like, what would happen if I had $5 million and could tell any Dante and Randall story I could? That was the one I went with. So it doesn't have the same ingredients that the first Clerks has, the thing that makes it authentic and real, which is, that's just my life with names changed. This is fucking fan fiction. And I love Clerks too, don't get me wrong, it's one of my favorite films. But it's totally a movie, whereas Clerks is absolutely a film. So by the time we get to Clerks III, and we're gonna stick the fucking landing, hopefully, the idea is like, what do? You go back to the original formula, because in the Taoist proverb by which I live my entire fucking life, to be great is to go on is to go far, and to go far is to return. So essentially, you just constantly make a circle. And as we were coming back to the beginning, I was like, well shit, we gotta end it as we began it. It has to be authentic, it has to be my life. It has to be my life with all the names just changed. So Randall has my heart attack. Randall has the idea to make a movie about working at his job, the convenience store, which I also fucking worked at. So the movie is dripping with authenticity because of that. But the way I see the movie is finally, after all this time, like, you know, you would imagine that Dante, since I'm the way in usually as Dante, would be the one who makes the movie. But I swear to you, this is fucking true, and I'll need a fucking therapist to unpack this for years. But when I sat down to write it, and it came time to hit that first heart attack, I was like, I don't believe that Dante would ever make a film, which is so fucked up, because Dante did make a film. But I'm so far removed from Dante at this point that I'm like, I don't recognize that in that character anymore. He would not be the one. And as I was sitting there going like, Randall lives for fucking movies. Like, Randall is the throw caution to the wind type of person anyway. And now with fucking the heart attack, it's suddenly like, oh shit, I can't be me anymore. Like, Randall, one of my favorite characters I've ever created. I think he's fascinating. Obviously, I keep coming back to him and stuff. One of my favorite moments with Randall, he says fucking nothing. It's in Clerks 2, and it's during the montage of 1979, the Smashing Pumpkins song. Everyone's doing a thing. It's like the moment before everyone's lives change irrevocably, and everybody's doing a fucking thing. It's their last moment. And when you come to Randall, he's not doing a fucking thing. Randall is sitting in movies staring at the fucking ground, because Randall is not Randall unless there's somebody there for him to counter. He only knows how to engage with the world by somebody being like, red, and he's like, blue, asshole. So if nobody's around, he can't be himself. And he's alone with his fucking thoughts, and he looks incredibly fucking uncomfortable because his job is to be out there, with nobody out there. Who the fuck is he? And I always loved that. I was like, fuck, I want to get in that head. Like, what's he thinking? What does he think when he powers down? Like C-3PO and nobody's fucking around. Like, what goes on in his head? And then we saw a little bit, like at the end of Clerks II, where he was like, I'd buy the Quick Stop and reopen it myself. We scratched a fucking pessimist and we found an optimist underneath, a fucking dreamer. And I was like, what would that be like to spend a whole movie with the dreamer? And so as we went into it, I was like, it's gotta be Randall. Randall makes more sense as the filmmaker, as the guy who makes Inconvenience and stuff. So it took me nearly fucking 29 years, but I finally got to be Randall, essentially. And which means I finally accomplished my lifelong dream of becoming Brian Johnson. So I can see the analogy of like, hey, Walt does shit now, absolutely. But as the guy who made the movie, no, that's Kevin. But excellent eye, good eye. Did you just run away?
Politely,
It was adorable. You were like, I'm done. Like a little imp and stuff.
I'll give it up for my friend Jess. You know, I know the person behind me, and so I'm like, give it to the room. She's a stand-up. She'll do stand-up.
Fuck it, we'll get to Jess next, but we jump over here first. But when it comes to, stay by the mic, because when I come back, then you could intro and be like, give it up for Jess.
Oh, cool. I'll do it.
Sure. How are you, my friend? What's your name?
My name is Tom.
Tom, give it up for Tom. Tom's next.
You were definitely right about the answer part. You answered virtually everything that I was going to ask. So, really, the only thing that I can say is thank you, and that I did.
Oh my God, you never have to say thank you. Just give me your money. That's it.
But of course,
But thank you.
I did read some of the critic stuff before I came to watch this.
I haven't, so don't ruin it for me.
I'm not going to ruin it.
I'm completely clean. As far as I know, the whole world loves this movie, and I want to keep it that way. So, if somebody out there is like, I don't know, he really has his head up his ass, I don't need to hear about it, especially because I've had my head up my ass since 1994, so they're just noticing that.
Exactly. So, fuck them.
Yeah.
That's basically all.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, everyone's entitled to their opinion and shit. And I knew when I made this movie that some people would be like, what the fuck? Like, there's some people I'll never win over. Film Twitter hates my fucking guts. And it doesn't matter like how good the movie turns out. I sit here and watch it every night. What was it, Show 18 and shit like that? It's bliss, absolute bliss. Based on these rooms every fucking night, Brian O'Halloran wins an Academy Award, you know? So, I know that it's an extrapolation. I know there are people in the room that are like, I don't like it as much as like X, Y, or Z. I didn't like Messrs. Clerks or Clerks II, or I don't like any of them. What am I doing here? But I keep fucking giving this guy a chance. Fuck. And the movies get more expensive each time. So I understand like it's not for everybody necessarily, but generally in this room, it sounds like fucking everybody fucking went for it and stuff. So I love living in these rooms. It's designed for these rooms. Like I know the movie will play forever to people that aren't here. And, you know, the Fathom events, folks went to that and reported loving it and shit like that. But I engineer these things for these nights specifically. I know I'm touring these movies, and in doing so, I'm like, oh shit, I'm engineering it for me in the room on that night. Never mind posterity, never mind like, how will it play forever? I think it will, but like, since I'm gonna be there, I engineer it for like fucking being here behind that screen and knowing how hoping things are gonna land. And there's only one thing that I regret. Like, I watched the movie 18 times now, and I'm like, oh my God, it plays like a dream. This is what no, but what a great reference, fuck. This is what I regret. It was so easy, and I had him, and I should have went the other way. So Affleck shows up, everyone goes crazy. And then Affleck does a De Niro impression, which is okay. He should have done a Matt Damon impression. Like, he talks about being this actor, Boston John, and he's like, Robert De Niro's my fucking lodestar. It should have been Matty Damon's motherfucking Lodestar, and he could have done a few lines from Good Will Hunting. Every night I watch it and go like, why didn't I do one more draft? But other than that, every night it's like watching the fucking tumblers fall in a lock correctly as the people get into moments and stuff like that. You know, you realize like we got lucky by making the movie in New Jersey. This is the first movie that I've got to make entirely in New Jersey since the first movie I ever made, since Clerks. So Clerks II we made out in California. We made in Buena Park. And we shot like, 1 or 2 days, 3 days, Jersey exteriors. In doing that, if we had done that for Clerks III, I couldn't do things like hey man, I'm gonna call my ex-girlfriend, Kim Lochran. She played fucking Heather Jones, who's like, an Asian design major. I'm gonna put her on a plane and fly her out and put her up in a hotel. It basically cost about $2,500 so she could say one line. Like the producers would be like, you're out of your fucking mind, man. Like text your ex-girlfriend or stalk her on Instagram like everybody else. Yeah? But instead, fucking since we're in New Jersey, I could be like, oh my God, Kim, bomb down and stand next to Ernie and say the exact same shit you said 29 years ago. And she's like, oh my God, I would love to. And in this room, like anywhere else, Kim Lochran goes to the mall and shit, nobody makes a fucking big deal of it. In this fucking room, when Kim Lochran shows up, people are like, holy shit. She's still alive. Like, holy fuck. So every moment like that is a gift. For example, like Jason Lee and our schedule crossed over and we couldn't get Lee for the montage. But we got Ethan Suplee, and holy fuck, my next movie is gonna be, based on this crowd, Danny Trejo and Ethan Suplee. In a buddy movie of some sort, because holy shit. When Danny Trejo showed up, you're like, Jesus fucking Christ! We know him! And then when fucking Ethan showed up, it was the same kind of rapturous welcome. So everybody is worth something in an appearance and whatnot. And I'm sure the movie still plays if you're not in this room. I know for a fact it does. But I build it for these nights very specifically. And, I'm never unhappy about it because I'll do this, 50 times in total and shit. And each time, that's no mean feat, right? Like anybody who makes a movie, their movie plays in a multiplex all over the country at the same time, multiple fucking showings and stuff. But for me, this is Clerks 3. This is it. Like, others will watch it later on, but this is the audience that was made for it, and this is like who I see every night at the tour and stuff. So if some of those folks were like, you fucking suck, I might take it seriously because they overpaid to see the movie. But if some people are like, I've never liked him, I still don't like him, and fucking, oh my God, now I like him even less because now he's fucking sucking his own dick on screen and shit. I get it, I can understand that. This is a movie, this is an Ouroboros of a movie, right? The snake eats its tail and then blows itself at the same time. And that's not for Say again?
So you're the guy that broke his neck?
Yes, I am the guy. I am become Cousin Walter. Thank you. All right, we jump over. Do the intro. Here we go.
Good evening, watchers from the beyond. Put your hands together. You find yourself in the Crest in downtown Sacramento. You just saw Clerks 3. Put your hands together for the host of No Boys Allowed every fourth Friday on downtown Sacramento Broadway, Jazz Robert.
Holy shit!
You better have a fucking tight 5.
I do actually. I ain't fucking scared. One of the only goddamn vaginas up here. Come on, ladies, you guys could ask some fucking questions. Anyway, I'm gonna kiss your ass a little bit. I absolutely love your horror stuff. Please come out with more of it.
That is, once I get the VSQ out of my system, post-heart attack,
Oh, yeah.
all I want to do is play with my old toys. But we have to go back to finish what we started, which would include moose jaws, of course. For those who are like, what the fuck? It's just Jaws, but with a moose instead of a shark. And then I just talked about last week or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago at this point, I went to Affleck's wedding, and me and Jay went. And in order to get there, you gotta take 2 fucking planes because he's in Savannah. You can't just fly direct to Savannah from Los Angeles. So after the wedding, we go from Savannah to Atlanta, and then there was weather, and it delayed us in Atlanta, so we missed our connecting flight. Well, I missed the connecting flight. As soon as the flight came in, we're going up the jetway. Jason Mewes books around me, races up to the desk, and he goes, "Give me any tickets you got for Los Angeles." And he got the last fucking ticket. So I was stuck in fucking Atlanta and shit, but I didn't care because I had weed. And so I got a hotel and I was sitting on the balcony smoking, and I was going through Twitter and shit, and then I saw somebody say, "Oh my God, Tusk is on HBO Max." And I was like, that can't be.
Yeah.
And I went to HBO Max and fucking Tusk was on. And I was like, oh my God, they got the trailer. Is it the theatrical trailer? And I checked it out and it was the fucking theatrical trailer, which I love. So I was like, I'm gonna fucking watch Tusk. I ain't seen it in 3 years. So I got high and watched Tusk, and it was incredible. It was so weird because like I was so high, I was disassociated from the movie, and I was like, it's like they made this shit right for me, man. Like, fuck, it's hitting everything. And shit. So I was having such a great time watching it, and I was like falling in love with Justin all over again. He's just brilliant.
Yes.
So I texted the kids. I texted Justin Long and Haley Joel Osment and Genesis Rodriguez, and I was like, kids, I'm watching Tusk, and I had the worst travel day, but fucking it turned my frown upside down. This movie is nuts, and you guys deserve all the credit because you are treating it so seriously. Like, you're acting in Tusk, but it's like you're acting in Argo. Like, you're really giving it your all, and I think it reminds me of like one of the best times I ever had on a set. So I said, in 2 years, it's going to be the 10-year anniversary of Tusk. I know, like, you know, it didn't go swimmingly last time, but I feel like everyone knows the concept now, so we'd be stupid not to head back. So in 2024, let's do Tusks with an S. And, but it wasn't an S, it was a $sign. And that was predicated on, well, it has something to do with the plot, but it's also an homage to the Jim Cameron story. Apparently when Jim Cameron, I don't know if this might be like apocryphal, but when Jim Cameron was pitching Aliens to 20th Century Fox, he didn't direct Alien, that was Ridley Scott. He went in and he pitched Aliens, the sequel. So he's meeting with them and he writes on the board, Alien. And they're like, huh? And then he puts an S after it. And the execs are like, oh. And then he puts 2 lines to the S and the $sign. They go, ah! So Tusks is going to be 2024. So there's definitely 2 horror flicks coming for sure.
That's cool.
And perhaps Jersey Girl 2.
I love you. Please don't.
I won't.
Okay, so here's my actual
I'm
question.
gonna let Bennifer be happy.
Here's my actual question. Since
Yes.
most of your movies are stoner male protagonist movies,
Yes.
can we actually do one that represents the female stoner? Because there's a lot of us out there that are not Barbies. We're fat and we like to eat some goddamn food. I mean, I think it would be great. Just saying, what do you guys think?
I'm all for it, and I will watch that movie when you make it. Because I can. If I make it, people will be like, ew, he's telling, like I made Chasing Amy, and in '97, people were like, you're a genius. And nowadays, they're like, why was the movie told from the male's point of view? And I'm like, you're right, good point. So I can't make a female-driven thing anymore without somebody saying I'm gender appropriating.
Well, how's this? How about in a year I shoot you that script?
No, how about in a year you shoot me the movie that you've made?
Alright.
Because you can do this. I mean, this is like fucking, it's very simple. Go look at the first one, it's even more simple and shit. And I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing, and it all worked out. So here's your fucking opportunity. Like, and it starts like that, believe me. Like, there's a comic book that we're selling here on the, you know, all the souvenirs and shit. Masquerade.
Yes.
Love that comic. It will eventually be a TV show. I fucking know it. Like, I'm ready to pitch it and we'll turn it into a series. It started as a pitch for the Question TV show. I pitched it to HBO Max, and the guy at HBO Max is like, I fucking love this. This is amazing, man. He's going, you just have to pitch it to J.J. Abrams. I was like, why? He's like, because J.J. and Bad Robot has the Question. And I was like, oh my God, what a no-brainer. I know J.J. Fucking, we're going to be making a show. and I pitched it not to JJ, but his head of production. And his head of production was like, "This is too dark." And I was like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, way too dark." So I was like, "Huh." Now, it had very little to do with DC's question. A lot of it was made up whole cloth. So I was like, all I have to do is fucking flick the character away, flip the gender, because it was male, and kind of retell the story, and it'd be all mine. And I did that, and it made me so fucking happy. So your secret villain origin story is I was at this Clerks III screening and I told Kevin Smith to make a movie that I wound up making myself.
But then that would really make you the hero.
I'm not the hero, man.
Or hero protagonist?
I'm not even the hero protagonist. I'm like fucking, did you ever see Shazam? I'm like the wizard that gives you the word and shit.
Okay, I'll take that. I got it.
He's a bit player, but he comes back in the sequel, which is fine. But this is your fucking story, man. And right there, you just came up with a fucking viable idea. Basically, this is a germinating point, but from that moment forward, it becomes all yours because it goes through your voice, and your voice is your currency. This is my voice. I've been sharing my voice for like 29 fucking years and stuff, so you all know what my voice sounds like. And now my voice is strong enough to get a thing financed, where people are like, well, it doesn't read very well, but he's got a voice, so fucking let him do it and shit. Everybody in this room has a fucking voice. You stepped up to the mic very confidently. I knew you could do a type 5 if need be and shit. You've got an absolute fucking voice. Share that. Don't come to somebody and be like, you should. Fuck that. You should, because it's your story. And that's not me saying passing the buck and shit, but that's me going, look, I recognize you. I was you 29 fucking years ago. The person that's like, you know what they should do? Until one day I was like, wait, not they, me. I should fucking do that thing. So, use that voice. Your voice is your currency. Spend it as often as you can in this fucking life, man. And make that thing yours, because it already is. You've watched a thing that made you go, yeah, but what if it was this? And that's all creativity is. There's no fucking original ideas in this world. Every idea is sparked by hearing or seeing something else. You gotta see it before you can be it and stuff. So I don't give a fuck what it is, or who it is. It could be Chris Nolan doing Memento, which everyone's like, fuck, that's original. I guarantee you Chris Nolan was probably watching something like fucking One Day at a Time. And he's like, you know what they should have done? Fuck it, that's Memento, fucking, that's how it happens. I'm telling you, it's that fucking simple. So this could be that moment. Your voice is your currency. Fucking spend that shit as often as you can in life. And start spending it when you go home. Write a fucking script. Never mind watching this asshole. You become the asshole.
I can do that.
You can do that. Thank
I am that.
Good? Right on. Thank you. Now we jump over here. What's your name, Captain?
My name's Sean.
Sean, give it up for Sean. Sean's next.
Thank you so much. I'd like to say thank you so much. Clerks III was amazing.
Thank
you. Did amazing work. And you made me miss Jersey too. I'm from Jersey.
What part?
I was Burlington County, Mount
Fucking
Holly.
A, man. Look at
I
you.
lived there most of my life, but moved to California just like 3 years ago.
How do you feel? What do you think about it?
I like it.
Yeah, it's fucking nice, right?
It's nice.
We're not anywhere near Jersey, so let's be honest. This is better. No snow, no raking, fucking constantly nice. It's amazing.
But you made me miss Wawa. You mentioned Wawa.
Yes.
I miss my half-gallon
Yes,
PCs.
the Wawa joke, every time I'm at some place that's not the East Coast, I'm like, fuck, I should have dubbed it. Like fucking had him say like, I think Jesus was more of a Circle K guy. But back home, that plays through the fucking roof, man. Like, we were in Jersey when we did the first show, the first night of the tour, and that fucking Wawa joke fucking killed. And so all the East Coast Wawa work, but the further west we go, it depends how many people have watched the Goldbergs, essentially, for that joke to travel.
But my question is Dogma 2 a possibility? I know you can't replace Alan Rickman.
Dogma 2 is always a possibility as long as there's breath in my lungs, man, because obviously I love repeating myself. But that one's sticky because, brace yourselves, kids, Dogma is owned personally by Harvey Weinstein. Yes, my movie about angels is owned by the devil himself. And And for years now, we've been talking about like, well, do we get it back? How do we get it back? What do we do? I didn't want to try to buy it because I didn't want to put money in his pocket. Fuck that guy. But then somebody was like, he don't keep any of it. It now goes out to all his victims and shit. And I was like, all right, so there's a way in. So I was like, let's make an offer. And so we made an offer to his lawyer, and it was, I'll tell you how much. $250,000. I wrote a very sincere letter to a convicted rapist, and asked him to sell me my movie back. I was like, look, you've made many movies and shit. This is only one of only 15 that I've made, and this one is really close and personal. It has everything to do with my life growing up and stuff. So, you know, I know the movie was made in the 90s and it's kind of run its time, but like $250,000 I feel is like a fair offer. And the response was no. So we went back with $500,000, upped it, doubled it and shit, and made it $500,000. That felt like that was sexy enough. Answer was no. So then I was like, fuck, I'm not Scrooge McDuck. So I don't have a fucking vault full of money that I could dive into and pull out a bag to be like, this is for Dogma, you know. But I do have friends in high places and shit, so I called up a few people and created a fellowship of sorts, being like, hey man, gonna make a run at this, but need some loot and shit. And they were like, look, I'm all for it and whatnot. People believe in the movie. You know, I don't know why. It's like the cast is like the cast is almost irrelevant at this point. None of them work anymore. When was the last time you ever heard from Ben Affleck, for Christ's sake? And Chris Rock just disappeared off the face of the earth. So we went back in and offered $1 million. And he still wouldn't sell it to us. Yeah, so I don't know what's left. Personally, I think he's holding out for like $5 million, and fuck him, man. Like, that just seems too high. And then there are a bunch of people on the line like, just kickstart that shit, man. We'll do it. But I don't want to presume on my friendship with the audience and stuff. So I hope sooner or later a response comes back where it's like, oh, we'll take this. He just hasn't even countered, so we don't fucking know. The thing that really sickens me about it, though, is that he loves this. This has been taken away from him, rightfully so. This was his whole fucking world, wheeling and dealing and fucking like holding out for better offers and making people creatively miserable. That was his whole fucking raison d'etre and shit. Then he got convicted and all of that fucking went away. And this is the closest he's ever come since that moment to being who he used to be. Because there's some fucking commodity that he could play with and somebody who wants it and shit. So it grosses me the fuck out that he's sitting in jail and shit, and this is probably something that brings him happiness in his day. I don't know about happiness, but it lightens his day, where he's like, what did they offer? Fuck them, no. Gonna just tell them no. They'll come back, watch. Like, I know the guy, fucking, like, I'm sure he's enjoying it. Fucking sickens me. However, this all being said, let's agree that these are the least egregious offenses of Harvey Weinstein. So hopefully I get the movie back and we can get to go forward. I've always had more story to tell and shit. Like, I always figured if we make a Dogma sequel 20 years ago, Alanis would have played the heroine. Because, you know, Linda was made pregnant by God, so I was like, well, the kid could look exactly like God and shit. But at this point, God bless her, Alanis and I have probably aged out a little bit of doing that. So, you know, I know what, I didn't have much for it, but I knew there was one joke, like Bethany's kid is, you know, fucking met by the Metatron. Alan's not here, so obviously we can't do that. And sent on a very similar fucking mission, but he tells her that she has to find the prophets. And when she goes to locate Jay and Silent Bob, she finds Jay, and Jay is working as a male prostitute, and he hasn't spoken to Silent Bob in years and shit. They had a falling out, and so Bethany's kid is just like, well, where is he? And then you cut to like a circus tent, and there's a tent revival preacher fucking going at full bore, preaching to a fucking audience, and you come up behind him and it's Silent Bob. That was it. That's all I really had for Dogma and shit. So there's fucking seeds, and if I could get it back, then maybe there's something to do. But right now, it's in no man's land.
I know you can't replace Alan, but with the recent applauses, maybe Machete? Machete?
What about Machete?
Yeah.
But that's Robert's movie.
Replacing Alan.
What is it?
Machete replacing Alan Rickman.
Replace, well, number one, his name's Danny Trejo. But yes. Yes, absolutely. I can get away with that. I mean, shit, based on the reaction, I could do a one-man Dogma with Ethan Suplee playing every part. And y'all would go for it. Good?
Yep, thank you, man.
We jumping over here. What's your name?
Hey, I'm Jay.
What is it?
Jay.
Jane?
Jay. J-A-Y.
J-A-Y. Everyone give it up for Jay. Thank you. A name that I'm very familiar with. How are you, Jay?
Thank you. Very well. Thank you so much for the most quotable franchise for stoners. I mean, thank you.
Thank you.
But why did you kill Mr. Dante?
Honestly, I've been trying to kill him since I was 21 years old, man. Like, in many ways, I'm like Wile E. Coyote. I just can't get the fucking Roadrunner and shit, and I finally got him. I killed him in this one because he was always meant to die. We're all fated to die. And when I wrote Clerks, the young Kevin Smith that wrote Clerks, this is 22-year-old Kevin Smith, my fucking hero. And also a guy that I'm baffled by to this day, because I know that guy very well. And I don't understand why he thought he could do what he did. Still to this day, I don't understand why he thought, like he saw one movie, he watched movies his whole life, never thought this, but he saw Slacker and he was like, fuck, I think I can make a movie. And he was right, and I've lived in the benefit, the fucking spoils of his one good decision for the rest of my life. Like my life's a fantasy land, man, because that kid did something kind of fucking unheard of for him. He never finished anything except high school. And the idea that he would fucking make a movie, might as well say like, oh, I'm gonna be a fucking astronaut and shit like that. So, he somehow figures it all out and makes that flick. And in that flick, Dante gets killed at the end. And so, that was his testimony, that was his statement, that was his art. And then people started seeing it. And one of the people that saw it, John Pearson, who became the producer's rep, is a friend of mine. John Pearson was a producer's rep for Roger and Me, the Michael Moore movie. He was also a producer's rep for Slacker, the movie that inspired me and stuff. So I was like, God, I want this guy to sell our movie. We need him. And he's like an agent. And so Pearson watched the movie and he loved it. And he was like, I will agree to rep this movie if you cut that ending. And I was like, why? And he goes, because you fall in love with these two guys in their relationship over 90 minutes, and then you kill one of them for no better reason than you don't know how to end the movie. I was like, that's not it at all. He goes, what is it? And I said, I think it's the funniest joke in the movie. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, he's not even supposed to be there that day. And he dies, but bump, And John was like, stick to the 37 dick shit. That's funny. And so in that moment, that's where this Kevin Smith, the one that made Clerks, stopped existing, and that Kevin Smith, the one that stands before you, started existing because I heard an opportunity in there. I heard like, wait a second, we cut that ending, and that makes the future a little more possible? Like this Kevin Smith dreamed of making Clerks, and he did it, and it was the exact thing he wanted to do, but that Kevin Smith dreamed of this. Dreamed of like, oh my God, what if I was in a room full of fucking people? What if Jay and Silent Bob were a thing like Cheech and Chong? Like, what if I got to make more movies and stuff? And the only thing standing between me and that was that ending. And so I cut that ending, and then I'm born. And then I stand before you for the last 29 years, no regrets whatsoever. The fact that I cut that ending means that I also got to make two of my favorite films I've ever made, Clerks 2 and Clerks 3. We couldn't have done them if that ending still existed. But that kid who got us here, the kid who fucking like made a movie so fucking authentic and earnest that the government, the US government, fucking 25, 28 years later, was like, we're going to put this in the Library of Congress on the National Film Registry. That kid, all he wanted was the movie that he made and shit. And for like nearly 29 years, no regrets whatsoever, but I always felt bad that I fucked him over at the end of the day. And so, years later, as we prepare to make Clerks 3, I'm like, oh shit, to be great is to go on, is too far, to go far is to return. What if this is the moment where I could give him his ending back? Like, this is it. All he ever wanted was to kill Dante. and we could do it together, you know? And it would be more meaningful this time if he had succeeded, and he did. He shot that ending. We saw it. But if that ending had played, Dante's death was random and fucking meaningless. And the guy who was trying to tell that story did not live a random or meaningless life. That was an inauthentic moment in that movie. I've never been robbed at a convenience store. As many of them I worked at, nobody ever pulled a gun. So that was artifice. So this guy, that Kevin Smith, felt like, yeah, I can cut that, that's easy. But this Kevin Smith, fucking, that's all he dreamed about. I know that fucker, man. I know he felt like his artistic integrity was compromised. And even though I could show him all this, he'd still be like, yeah, but. So, as we get to Clerks III, I'm like, the least I could fucking do for this kid is give him back what he wanted, what I took away. And so for that, Dante's got to go. And it also, the whole thing becomes like a triptych, right? Like the trilogy is about life, that's Clerks, or birth, that's Clerks, life is Clerks 2, and obviously fucking death is Clerks 3. And we didn't plan that. That wasn't the idea when I made Clerks. I just wanted to make a movie in a convenience store that made people laugh. But after like 29 years, it's like, wait, it could be something else. It could be something else. And now we get to a moment where, you know, people are profoundly affected by the death of a fictional character. I love that. I love that Dante's become so important to people that they're like, why'd you fucking kill him, asshole? But it's part of my gift to the audience, man. The audience has given me gifts for all my entire career, man. The gift of never having to work at Quick Stop again, unless I wanted to. Every time I've gone back to Quick Stop, it's not because like, I need a job, I gotta make money. It's because I'm like, ooh, I wanna tell a story about how I used to work at Quick Stop. And so the audience has made my life possible for like 29 fucking years, man. How do I thank the audience? I could give the money back, but I won't do that. Because these suits are expensive. So, what does one do? And I was like, well, you give the audience something else, something better. George Carlin wrote in his book Last Words, which was a book that was published posthumously after he died. His sort of biography, he called it. He wrote it with Tony Hendra. In his book, he wrote about making people laugh for a living. And he said, everyone you meet is performing themselves. You know, nobody is who they say they are. Everybody's putting forward the best possible version of themselves. We're all performative in nature. That's why I don't buy it when anybody's like, oh, I can't act. Fuck you. Give me 2 hours. I'll make you act. Because you act every day of your fucking life. I'll just show you how to do it in front of a camera. That's the only fucking difference. Since we're all performative and whatnot, we're all putting on a fucking show. He said, when a person laughs, laughter is an involuntary action. You can't fucking plan for it, you can't help it and shit. I mean, you can plan for it if you're like, I'm gonna go to a comedy club and they better fucking make me laugh. You have a general impression you will laugh. But true laughter, when it comes out of nowhere, it hits you, it's an involuntary fucking action. You cannot fucking keep the performance going through laughter. It's impossible. So when a person is laughing, George said, that is you seeing that person for the first time. That is who they truly are at the root, at their most barest essence. You're seeing them. At that moment that you've made them laugh, they are open to suggestion, he said. The idea is there's serotonin pumping through their fucking body. Their mind trusts you because you just gave them something fucking pleasant. He said, I don't like to go through the front door and fucking force things down people's throat. He's like, I like to come in this way, when people are open to suggestion, and throw a new idea their way, throw a progressive idea their way. There's a good chance that it'll take root at that moment in time. And I thought that was fascinating. I was like, I'm gonna keep trying that, man. That seems like a good thing. I'm gonna put it in my work. So we did it here tonight, man. It's sort of inception of sorts. And it's not very clever at all. It's not subterfuge or anything. It's pretty damn apparent, but it's my gift to the audience, coming from a guy who went through some shit and whatnot. And all I can give you at this point is experience. A lot of people want to do what I do, and so I'm like, here's all the information you need to do what I do. And a lot of people don't necessarily want to make films, but they're like, oh, I like what you have to say. And so this is me saying something to them because I give a shit. The truest thing a stranger will say to you all year and stuff. The message of this movie is that I know you got shit you want to do. Like, it's impossible that you've done it all. I have shit that I want to do, and I do everything. And there's still shit that I have yet to do, and I won't accomplish in this lifetime. I keep putting it to the side because life gets in the way, and that's fine. I love life. Life is better. It's better life gets in the way than life doesn't. The alternative would suck. So many opportunities come up, or you meet new people, or you fall in love, or you have a family, or somebody dies, or something happens, that you always have this moment where you're like, well, all right, I'm gonna get to this. I'm gonna put it down. I'm gonna get to it, but I'm gonna take care of this shit first. And one day I'm gonna get to it. That's a dream. That's what we hold on to. It fuels us during the day and stuff like that. But a dream is best when accomplished, when brought to reality. And since nobody dreams about like, I want to fly without a jetpack, most of our dreams are fucking achievable and whatnot. But since life gets in the way, we put those achievable dreams down to concentrate on the here and now and always figure there's enough time to get to shit. This movie is just a very polite, gentle reminder that if you have shit that you want to do, hurry the fuck up. Yeah. We don't have much time. That's simple. Second little gift from me to you, to the audience, is the reminder, never let the sun go down on a fucking, put the mic down, 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 put the mic down. Thank you. Never let the sun go down on an argument, ever. Doesn't matter who it's with, doesn't matter how fucking mad you are at that person, you cannot fucking let the sun go down on an argument. Tragedy of this movie, I'm sure someone will be like, you made it, period. But the tragedy of this movie to me